Okay guys, I just found out something and figured out something that is absolutely crucial to the Warframe story and kind of ties 1999 for once to the actual game, in not just the way that Albrecht and Techrot created this paradoxical timeline where everything resets every single year unless you do something very specific, and that leads to the next part of the story. But no, 1999 actually has a reason to live and a reason to be there. And you know what? A lot of you guys might know this already, but I didn't, and now I do. So I did have my suspicions, and I'm guessing a lot of other people did as well. But okay, you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to just calm down and relax. And by the way, I'm working on the full Warframe story, like the entire story chronologically. So if you want to see that, subscribe to the channel. It's going to come not soon, but relatively soon. Does it make sense? I hope it makes sense. Let's get into it. I'm sitting cross-legged and it's going to cramp if I don't finish this up. So let's actually get into all of it. I'll see you guys now. Okay, so I want to start with something that most people would probably already know, but maybe you don't. And if you didn't, then spoiler alert, maybe? I don't know. So we need to dive into how Warframes are made, and that's what I mean by spoiler alert. I'll try to keep it speedy, like Volt. Okay, so Warframes are essentially made by using human volunteers, as the Orokin would say, and infusing them with a bioengineered strain of the Infestation. It's called the Helminth strain. This causes the human vessel to undergo a massive mutation and become this hardened biological machine-like shell, which originally did still have the human host almost conscious inside, but in extreme pain and agony. I mean, how would you feel if you were undergoing extreme body mutations and your body is essentially an armor-like shell now? But why am I talking about Warframes now? Just wait, you'll find out soon enough. A lot of people assume the Infestation is purely an Orokin invention, but boy oh boy is that wrong. The true origins of the Technocyte virus trace back to Warframe 1999. It was a biomechanical weapon engineered by humans, likely the government of Helminth or a shadow organization of that era. We all know that Albrecht and Techrot didn't invent or bring it to 1999 because in his notes 1999 was already referred to as the Plague Year. That's likely why he chose that exact era to hide in the first place. This original 1999 strain, colloquially called Techrot, had the terrifying ability to infect both flesh and technology. That's why when you wander around Helminth, you'll see like corrupted CRT TVs, arcade cabinets, and appliances twisted monstrously. Eventually, the Techrot outbreak was contained, but fast forward an incredible amount of time, the Orokin Empire rediscovered that same virus. They of course re-engineered it to try and ecologically remediate Earth, using the Infestation to consume technological waste and spit out like fresh organic flora and fauna, but as usual with the Orokin Empire, it spiraled out of control. They managed to quarantine the main outbreak to drifting derelicts and deep space hives, but during the Old War, when the Orokin were getting pushed to the brink by the Sentients, they kinda got desperate. Since Sentients were hyper vulnerable to raw biological mass, the Orokin weaponized the Infestation into massive bio-amalgams like elephantas to use as frontline shock troops, though that's kinda where that ended. Now stick with me, because here's where Albrecht and Techrot enters the picture again. On the infested moon of Deimos, there's a unique strain called the Grey strain. Now this strain is special because it causes biological mass to grow to absurd gigantic proportions, which is why you see massive creatures like Foss and Vohm dominating the landscape. Typical Albrecht and Techrot, though, he uses this to his advantage. When he fled to 1999 Helminth, he used the modern Helminth strain to treat local victims, creating the very first proto-frames, the Hex. He then took that proto-frame genetic data back to his laboratories on Deimos, specifically Arthur and Alois, fused that with the Grey strain's giant growth properties and created the vessels, those gigantic Warframe-like giants resting in his labs and now resting right next to your railjacks. And the ones that you'll probably be piloting soon, it seems. But then fast forward to the modern era, enter Dr.Tengus, the ruthless Grineer scientist who opens up a sealed Orokin quarantine ship at the start of the game, thinking he can use the Infestation to wipe out the Corpus and the Tenno. Big mistake. That unsealed hive broadcasted like a high-frequency biosignal across deep space, awakening dormant spores and causing the system-wide outbreak that we fight today. But the crazy thing is the evolution, it didn't stop there. After the Tenor destroyed LV's Zanuka project, he was stripped of his seat at the Corpus board. Desperate for power, he fled to Eris to experiment on the virus. Now you have to understand, standard Technocyte assimilates technology slowly through organic decay, but LV engineered that Mutalist Strain into a cyber-viral strain that could bypass Corpus firewalls and instantly infect purely inorganic robotics like the MOAs and Ospreys. He created a control collar to command them, but accidentally infected himself in the process, becoming half human, half infested. He did eventually find a cure, but you'll have to play through the lore quest to see how that mess played out. Now, kind of to sum it up, thanks to Lizzie the sentient guitar from 1999, we have confirmation on how the Infestation actually works. All these different strains, Techrot, Standard Infestation, the Grey Strain, Helminth, and Mutalist operate as their own autonomous mini hive minds, but the thing is, they share a single consciousness. Although they don't really directly control one another, they always know what the other strains are doing. Aside from Fast and Vom constantly blowing each other up on Deimos, the strains don't actually fight amongst themselves. They're like one massive interconnected network. And whether it looks like it or not, they are slowly waiting to consume everything in the Origin system. Let me know in the comments what strain you think is the most terrifying, and I'll see you in the next one.